You are Locked On Bulls Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Chicago on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Bulls Postcast here on the Locked On Sports Chicago YouTube channel. Joe George here with you as always. The Bulls lose 132-111, dominating first half, you could say. And then they get smoked in the second half, lose this game by 21, a game in which they led by 24 points at one point. So we'll go through all of that in today's show. Today's episode is sponsored by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. All right, so today's game. This is this is a good tank game for the Bulls. Matas Buzelis looks pretty good in the first half. You see what you have in guys like Coby White. He boosted his trade value in the offseason. Did get a lot of calls on him, the Bulls did. Jalen Smith had a good game tonight. They played very well in the first half. Look, they outscored the Warriors 38-21 in the second quarter. They were up by 24 points at one point in this game. And then they were down by 25. They lost by 21. They just fully on collapse on themselves. Steph Curry went absolutely insane in the third quarter. He had 21 points. He absolutely was just cooking the Bulls. Whatever he wanted to do, any given moment. And look, that's what you expect to see when you play like great teams. It's great players play great, but they just had no answer. Not that I expect them to at this point. Like, I don't expect them to have an answer. Jimmy Butler looked pretty good. I was curious how that was going to look. Like, the Bulls get to see the new look Warriors. They do some interesting things together. Like, I wouldn't put them towards like the top of the West or anything like that, but of course, but they're an intriguing team, to say the least, now that Jimmy Butler's there, and where he made his debut, Jimmy Butler had a good game himself, but the Bulls just got absolutely wrecked in the second half. There's no other way to look around it. And you look at the first half, I mean, Jalen Smith is literally just going absolutely crazy in this. He had 14 points in the first half off the bench. Coby White had 9 points in the second quarter alone. He had 15 points in the half. Jalen Smith had 14. Matas Buzelis had 13 in the first half. The Bulls were up 69-55. We saw a 13-0 run. We saw an 8 that was then turned into an 18-0 run, where the Warriors it was 18-2 with like 6.5 minutes left to go in the second quarter. This game felt like it was over at that point. We saw the debuts of Trey Jones and Kevin Huerter. Zach Collins, unless he got some garbage time minutes there at the very end, which I don't believe he did. No, he did not play. So you traded him for, don't know why. We're going to talk about that in the second half, second segment, the new guys on this team, and we'll wrap the show up with the best and worst. But the first half it's totally different than the second half. So you're shooting the ball like lights out. Jalen Smith, like I said, Coby White's doing these crazy heat checks. That one he had, he's near, the United Center logo. It was so deep. He was ripping it and feeling good in this game, and that's kind of what you expect that he could be, for the Bulls. Honestly, like, and when he hits that, like, that's in the third quarter. So like they're up by 25 when Coby's from way downtown, or up by 24 in the third quarter. But then the Warriors, they immediately start to go on their run. Okay, so they go on a 12-0 run in a minute and 23 seconds. So it goes from a 24-point lead to a 12-point lead very, very quickly. And from there, you get some nice plays. Again, Matas Buzelis, the nice fake. He does that, big dunk that he had in this game. I can't wait to see him in the dunk contest. It might be one of the things we're maybe most excited about the rest of the year. But that dunk he had, it wasn't just the dunk itself, but like I said, the play to get there, the pump fake, so it shows the Warriors are respecting his shot a little bit. He continues to look really comfortable in the starting lineup, his sixth straight game with 10-plus points. So he continues to fill that role really well for them. We definitely saw it in this game, specifically, 2 times against Jimmy Butler, where there's clearly like a major need in terms of like weight that he needs to put on this offseason, where Jimmy Butler one time in the post just absolutely embarrasses him. We see it later on where he closes out late, gets there, but he gets there in time, but he's just not strong enough to deal with Jimmy Butler. I did rather enjoy Stacey King and Adam Amin celebrating the fact that he's learning to flop when he got fouled by Draymond Green. I don't think he needed to flop. I think they would have called it anyways. Cannot believe Draymond Green did not get a tech in this game. My God, that guy was just going off on these referees the entire game. But So Buzelis has that dunk, so they're still right in it. But then all of a sudden, Steph Curry, he's at 16 points, and it's 91-87. Steph Curry hits another bucket. All of a sudden, it's 94-93. There's your full-on 25-point swing where Steph Curry has 21 points in the third quarter. He ended up with 24 in the third overall. The Bulls themselves scored 24 points in the quarter. So he scored as many points as you did, and it was a combination of everything that we've seen from the Bulls this year. Bad defense, bad offense, sloppy offense, turnovers, not closing out on defense, not handling the zone well has been a thing that has been kind of a thorn in the side, I would say, for the Bulls this year, that when certain teams run out of zone, and we saw at least in one moment this game where, Curry was down there in the zone and they attacked it pretty well, but the third quarter, just Steph goes wild, and that's the reason why the Bulls lost this game. They just didn't have a chance to stop him, and it reminds you that even in a year in which the Warriors are not the Warriors of old, that this guy is still one of the best players on the planet, and if not, he's top 10 for sure. I don't know where he ranks right now, I would say, in the NBA, but we saw what the new Warriors looked like, and yes, it is the Chicago Bulls, but I would imagine there was a lot of eyes on this game across the league because of two reasons. One, the confusion of what's happening in Chicago, that you only make one trade at the deadline. One of the things we're going to add to the show here at the end of each show, because I don't know where the Bulls are going. They don't know where they're going. So we're going to do a tankathon update and / play-in tournament update, because both those things qualify right now with what the Bulls are doing. But yeah, Steph Curry just reminded everyone tonight why he's the best player, or one of the best players on the planet. And yes, Coby White had a good first half, as did Buzelis and Jalen Smith, but they were basically nothing burgers, most of them, in the second half. Like I said, Jalen Smith had 14 points at halftime. He ended up with 15. Matas Buzelis had 13 points at halftime. He ended up with 16. Coby White's the only one that continued to have massive success, and we've really seen his three-point shot come back around this season. Part of the reason why I thought he was a prime candidate to get moved at the deadline, and whether AK and the front office just didn't get what they wanted for him and didn't want to get zero value in return, which I do understand, at least for Coby White, unlike Vooch. We saw tonight why teams would have wanted him, because he could have been a big contributing factor for some teams offensively this season. All right, let's talk about the new guys in this next segment. We saw Tre Jones, we saw Kevin Huerter, kind of their roles on this team, what it's going to look like. Zach Collins, what his role is apparently not going to look like on the Bulls. We're going to get into that next year on the Locked On Bulls postcast on the Locked On Sports Chicago YouTube channel. With Robinhood Gold, you can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. The privileges of the very privilege are no longer exclusive. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%. Plus, you also get 4% APY on your cash and non-retirement accounts. That's over 8 times the national savings average. The perks of a high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive your 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk, rate subject to change. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Over 8 times the national average savings account interest rate claim is based on data from the FDIC as of November 18th, 2024. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. All right, so Tre Jones is the second man off the bench. He joins Patrick Williams in this game. Actually, no, I think it was Kevin Huerter who came into the game first, and then we saw Tre Jones come into the game. We did not see Zach Collins. We found out before the game when Billy Donovan met with the media that because the Bulls don't run 2 big men at a time, that Zach Collins' minutes were going to be hard to find. Interesting for a couple reasons. I think back to earlier in the season when you would hear Stacey King and others, including myself, kind of clamoring for a Jalen Smith and Nikola Vucevic lineup to be out there. Thought maybe the acquisition of Zach Collins would make that more possible. Maybe they would try, different things with this new group, considering you have 9 point guards on the roster, whatever it is at this point. They have so many guards on this team, it's ridiculous. So I thought maybe they'd change things up in the new look version of the Bulls after the trade deadline and after only trading Zach LaVine. They don't do that. Zach Collins does not play in this game. Now, look, it's not like I have high expectations for this guy or anything like that, but I find it interesting that one of the early reports we got from Casey Johnson was that Zach Collins was the player that was originally most likely to be on the team still today after the trade deadline of him, Jones, and Herter. Though they're all here and he didn't play. I guess that's because they thought they were going to trade Nikola Vucevic and they needed another big guy on this roster. Well, they don't trade Vuce for whatever reason. I don't understand. Trade him for whatever you can at this point. You're supposed to be tanking. You're not supposed to be making the play-in tournament. As AK said, if the young guys get you there, that's fine. Like if you blow this thing up and Philadelphia can't catch you and you still make it, like it is what it is. You can't force these guys to try to lose basketball games. But you should have traded Vuce. And the fact that you got Zach Collins, you're not even going to play him, I just find super strange. I don't really understand the Chicago Bulls philosophy about anything. We got the report from Joe Cowley. I can't remember where he said it, but apparently that they're going to be more focused on building around Josh Giddey than Coby White. The guy who doesn't close basketball games, Josh Giddey. The Coby White who does. Like, that's another strange thing. But we saw the debuts of at least Tre Jones and Kevin Herter. Tre Jones, straight up point guard, not going to be a big scorer for this team. Couple nice moments. Rather, it's like one like big moment, I would say, from these guys where Tre Jones gets the deflection. Kevin Herter grabs it, kicks it right back to Tre Jones, and then Tre finds Matas Buzelis on the fast break for an easy bucket. That was probably the impact moment of the game from at least those two young guys and the two newest members of the Bulls. We did learn, if we didn't know this before, that Kevin Herter is not afraid to shoot the basketball. Not a great night for him, as it's been this season. Like, he's not really been the guy he was a couple years ago in Atlanta. He goes 1 for 7 from the field, 1 for 4 from the three-point line. Tre Jones only took 3 shots as well, didn't make any himself. But, like, I guess this is what we're going to see now the rest of the year. We're going to see mostly the same starting 5. And assuming Lonzo will be back at some point, so I guess that will mean Buzelis will go back to the bench, maybe. I'm not totally convinced about that. I actually wonder if we'll see Lonzo and Giddey starting with Coby White, Vucevic, and Buzelis, and it's Ayo that goes back to the bench. That would not shock me, honestly, at this point. The way that Buzelis is playing, when you think about the future of the Bulls, like when you're not on back-to-backs, when Lonzo's not sick, like he was tonight, that as long as he's healthy, because he's not hurt, he just was sick. And that's why he didn't play in this game. I just wonder, like, watching this game tonight versus the Warriors, like, maybe they will keep Buzelis in there. Like, he's just playing with so much confidence, offensively and defensively. Like, even if it's not going great, you can tell he just feels so comfortable being out there that I would wonder if he does end up just becoming a fixture in the starting lineup at this point. Because I wasn't sure they were going to put him in the starting lineup. Like, even when Lonzo was out, a week ago. And then all of a sudden they did. And he's basically been there since because of coming off a back-to-back and then Lonzo being sick. But obviously they got 2 more games next Tuesday and Wednesday before the All-Star break. So maybe things will look much different. Even, as we're talking here about Zach Collins and everything like that, the only player that's not going to be around for the entire All-Star break would be Buzelis and anyone who goes to support him in the dunk contest. Like, we know that, like, this is what we're going to see now, and I wonder if maybe Billy Donovan's tone will change. And I hope it does, because, like, if you're going to trade for Zach Collins and you're not going to blow this thing up to its core, I'd rather at least see what you got in these kids. Like, what do you got in Zach Collins? What do you have in Kevin Herter? What do you have in Tre Jones? Are there any of these guys that are new to your roster that are better fits than guys who are currently there and would just make more sense for you in the long run? My guess is the answer is no, but why aren't you trying? Like, why aren't you trying to see what it's going to look like? So I find it very strange, again, that Zach Collins is apparently not going to be a member of this rotation. I just don't get what the whole purpose of this deadline was. I feel more confused watching this game, honestly, than I did on Thursday at 2:05 when it was just LaVine that was moved. Because while I was not surprised, I expected their stubbornness. Like, I wanted them to trade everyone they possibly could. But when they extended Lonzo in the middle of that game on Wednesday night, it made me I was like, okay, like, this is going to be a different deadline for the Bulls, and one again in which you don't really have a plan going forward. And again, I think by not even wanting to find minutes in his first game as a Bull for Zach Collins, it kind of shows that the front office and the coaching staff, I think, are not totally aligned on the guys on their roster, and B, just don't have a firm plan of where this team, they really want it to go. Like, they want them to miss the playoffs, I think, but Kevin Huerter, Coby White, Matas Buzelis, they can make up for a lot of Zach LaVine's production. Like, not saying they make up for the player, but when you think about how much worse the Bulls are with Zach LaVine being the only player gone, like, I don't think it's that extreme of a drop at this point to where, like, as you're this borderline last team in the play-in tournament, it really wouldn't surprise me if they find a way to, like, squeak it in. If the way that Paul George, Joel Embiid, and the Sixers have looked, that, like, if somehow the Bulls, unfortunately for Bulls fans, I would say, and for the future of the Bulls, just get stuck in the mud with where they're at. And again, like, tonight's first half shows you that there is going to be nights where the Bulls, like, go crazy. And you have guys like Coby White who can score so effortlessly. And we didn't even see a big night from Nikola Vucevic in this game, which, like, he should have been on the other team. Like, that it's really that simple. Like, he should have been a warrior in this game. You should have got whatever trade asset you could have in return for him, whether it's draft capital or a player, and he should have suited up for the Golden State Warriors tonight instead of the members of the Chicago Bulls. And we should have seen Jalen Smith and Zach Collins being the guys that, if you weren't going to trade them, be getting run. But alas, that is not what happened for the Bulls at the deadline. All right, best and worst moments of tonight's game. We're going to get into that next, plus our new segment, the way we'll end the show, the update of the Bulls with no direction. Where are they at with the tank? Where are they at with the play-in tournament? We'll wrap up the show with that as well here. It is the Locked On Bulls postcast and the Locked On Sports Chicago YouTube channel. Looking for tickets to your next big event, whether it's a concert, a comedy show, or a sports game, finding the right ticket at the right price can be a headache. But with Gametime Picks, it's never been easier. Let me tell you how it works. With Gametime Picks, the app does all the hard work for you. It curates the best deals, so you don't have to waste time searching through endless ticket listings. I've been using Gametime Picks for a while now, and here's why I love it. The curated deals make it super simple to find great tickets at a great price. No more sifting through thousands of options. Recently grabbed a super deal for a prime seat, took my son to his first basketball game, used that for that, and I couldn't believe the value was an absolute steal. Seat view, game changer as always. Before I even hit buy, I can see exactly what my seat looks like in the venue, and it's so reassuring. And the best part, you're covered with Gametime's lowest price guarantee. If you find a better deal somewhere else, they'll refund 110% of the difference. Plus, your tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time with easy cancellation options if something comes up. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Checking my notifications here to make sure there was an NBA trade that was rescinded as we saw it tonight. Dalton Connect's trade to the Hornets for Mark Williams was rescinded because apparently of medicals. Unfortunately, the Bulls cannot rescind not making deals at the deadline. They're just kind of stuck with where they're at. So best and worst moments of the game. Well, I think the overall theme of the game is the best was the first half, the worst was the second half. You were awesome. The Bulls were. They did pretty much whatever they wanted to in the first half. Coby White was absolutely electric. I think the best moment of the game was that three from way downtown that put the Bulls up 25. That came off of a three that put the Bulls up 22 from Coby White. So he hit back-to-back, and that second one was just electric. And then he also had a major step-back three in the second quarter. Towards the very back end there that put the Bulls up 69-53. So he was really something in the first half and then early parts of the second. And also the other one I mentioned earlier too, Trey Jones tips it away. Kevin Huerter grabs it, passes it back to Trey Jones, who finds Matas Buzelis down the court for the dunk. It's 24-22. Matas Buzelis also had this really nice post move in this game in the first half, where again, like, we're starting to see the expansion of kind of like what his game can be. Like, there is the stuff close to the hoop, there's the cutting, the dunking, there's also the long range stuff from three. So we're really getting to see like more and more of like what is in the bag of Matas Buzelis, and really it is now the only most important thing the rest of the season is what he develops into, what he continues to grow as. He set himself the goal of being the best rookie the rest of the year in the NBA, I think we could actually see something like that. Like, it's not an overwhelming rookie class, I would say. Reese O'Shea and some of these guys, and Reed Sheppard in Houston, and some of these top picks have not been extraordinary. Zach Edey's had a nice year. The idea that Matas Buzelis cannot be on the all NBA rookie team, rookie of the year, I don't think it's crazy. If he's now going to be a member of the starting lineup and get real run on a bad basketball team, the stats are going to fill themselves. But again, like we saw in tonight's game, besides that one play where he got bodied by Jimmy Butler in the first half and just got bowled over because of the weight mismatch and the strength mismatch, he does a little bit of everything: rebounds, blocking shots, good defense, and really good smooth offense at times. So continually will be a focus on these shows, for at least for me, going forward. Again, rough night for a couple of these guys, though, in terms of worst moments. Nikola Vucevic, only 10 points, 4 rebounds, so a really below par game for him. Patrick Williams, again, he looks more comfortable coming off the bench, but 20 minutes, 8 points, only took 6 shots. So we're still not seeing that high level output. I think is he look better coming off the bench? I think the easy answer is yes. Is it good enough? Is it still inspiring in any way for what he is as a basketball player for the Bulls? Absolutely not. It's another fine game for him off the bench, but it's nothing to write home about for this team. Again, the worst moments: Steph Curry just going absolutely nuts on you. He really dominated this game in a fashion in which only so few players can. Even early on, we saw a couple moments again where I think the Bulls problems in terms of rebounding and everything was not great. We did see the Bulls have a really good night, at least in the first half, in transition. At one point, they were outscoring the Warriors 21-2 in transition points, so they were running all over the place. Another one I'll shout out here, Kevin Huerter. He had that fake pass to the corner and then ripped a 3 that put the Bulls up 4 in the second quarter. That was part of their 18-0 run that they were on. So it's a couple of good moments in this game, but yeah, in the second, it's not good. I think the absolute worst moment of tonight's game, not just the 21-point third quarter from Steph, it is the possession in the fourth quarter that happens, I think, about halfway through. Patrick Williams gets the offensive rebound. He's in the paint. He's battling with 2 Warriors players, and he is battling and battling and battling. And the other 4 guys on the team are around the three-point line doing absolutely nothing. The ball gets ripped. So you have 4 guys on the three-point line, and yet somehow after this turnover, Jimmy Butler still has a wide-open dunk that to put the Warriors up 10 points there in the fourth quarter. So one of the worst possessions of the night, if not the absolute worst possession for the Bulls offensively. So those are the best and worst moments of tonight's loss against the Warriors. Again, the Bulls lose this game 132-111, outscoring the Warriors 38-21 in the second, up by 24 points early in the third quarter, ended up down 25 points in this game, ended up losing by 21, outscored 42-35 and 35-17 in the second half. The straight up tale of two halves for the Chicago Bulls in this game. All right, so where do the Bulls stand? Because since the front office can't decide on where the Chicago Bulls are going, well, we have to look at both options here. So currently, let's assume here the play-in tournament. The Chicago Bulls sit at 22-31. These Philadelphia 76ers sit at 20-31. So the Bulls are right now a game up on the 76ers. So while they currently are a play-in team, they do have the 8th worst record in the NBA. They currently have a 6% chance to win the lottery. The teams in front of them, obviously, Philadelphia, who you would like to get in front of in terms of draft capital, but then it's Brooklyn, Toronto, Charlotte. Those are the next 3 teams that are all right there within striking distance if you continue to lose basketball games this year. You are only 5.5 games better than the Raptors. I don't think you'll pass the Raptors this year. I do think there's a chance you pass Brooklyn in terms of being one of the 4 worst teams in the NBA in the Eastern Conference this year. So I would guess, with the way the Bulls handled their season, with the direction they made, my gut tells me right now they will have, at the end, have a 9% chance to have the number 1 overall pick. They currently sit at 6%. So that's where the Bulls stand right now. They don't know where they're going. We don't know where they're going either. My gut tells me, again, they will fall out of the play-in tournament. They will fall apart more and more this season. They will struggle to win games against pretty much every team they play this year. I don't think the All-Star break will somehow, pull the Bulls out of a miraculous schedule. They play the Detroit Pistons next on Tuesday. That is followed up by a game versus, the Pistons. They play the Pistons, that's right, back-to-back nights at home. Very strange schedule before they are off until February 20th versus the New York Knicks. So that will do it for this episode of the Locked On Bulls Postcast. We don't know where the Bulls are going, but they don't either. So 6% chance as of right now to win the lottery, but they also are in the play-in tournament. So we'll see where it goes from here. We'll also continue to see what happens with Kevin Huerter, Zach Collins, and Trey Jones. I'm really hopeful that we will see Zach Collins meaningful minutes at some point this season. Not because I think he's going to be a good player, just because it makes me feel even worse about the deadline of one of the 3 players you acquired if you're not going to play him because you didn't trade Vooch. It makes no sense, but that's where we currently stand with the Chicago Bulls. If you're new here on YouTube, hit that subscribe button to the Locked On Sports Chicago channel. We do these postcast shows after every Bulls game, every Bears game, every Notre Dame game, and every single Cubs game as well. So we're always here for you for all these games, or for as many of them as we possibly can. If you're listening on audio, come on over, get your comments in the chat. Let us know what you think about what's going on with Lil Boozy Vert, Matas Buzelis, and the Chicago Bulls. And also, if you're watching on YouTube, come on over to the audio side, because that's there as well. Check us out, the Locked On Bulls daily podcast on the Locked On Bulls audio feed, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts, you can find it. So that will do it for this episode of the Locked On Bulls Postcast. My name is Joe George. We will talk to you on Tuesday night. Thank you for watching. The Bulls lose to the Golden State Warriors and currently sit as the 8th worst team in the NBA, but also still in the play-in tournament. That'll do it for us. Talk to you next time